50 euros, 490 euros, 302 euros. And today we are driving Circuit Zolder here in Belgium. And this is actually an ex-F1 racetrack. And the last F1 race took place here back in 1984. And since when F1 Belgian Grand Prix has moved to the circuit of Spa. This is a small track of 4 kilometers, but it's an older type layout track, so it's definitely interesting to drive. And what we will try to show you today, so we will try to count every expense we will have to come to this track, also to count how much expenses we have on the race car, so really to show you what it is like to drive your own car on the F1 racetrack. So let's start from beginning, and before we start, don't forget to subscribe. And the first stop is in the gas station. So now the E36 and the Ranger are with the full fuel tanks. So our cost at the moment is 0 euros. However, we need to add 50 euros for the trip, for the maintenance, for the trailer and the Ranger, because the trip is about 500 kilometers front and back. So, well, these things aren't free. So now we have 50 euros of cost. And now we are registered for the track day. So I have bought just 2 sessions, 2 hours each, so total of 4 hours driving time, and that cost us 490 euros. Normally it would cost 450, but because we have 2 extra drivers, that's 40 euros on top. So this expense for the track day entry is 490 euros. And while the guys are still preparing the E36 to go to the track, let's talk about few costs driving such track. So this track has some straights and some hard brakings. It means that the brakes and the tires will suffer mostly. Let's count like this. So 1 kilometer in the car costs 1 euro to drive it, for like oil changes, some rebuilds and so on, apart brakes and tires. So these we need to count separately. So let's now check the front brakes and the tires. So we can see that the tires are at 40% left, and the front brake pads are just at 30% left, so not so much. And in the back we have with the tires the same story, and about 80% of the brake pad. In case we finish the front brake pads, it's not a problem. We have some new set in the car, so we could quickly change that. So in this track I have driven before, so it was last year summer. It was much warmer, but also the dry track. So it's quite cool, because today it was also raining till lunchtime, but we are driving just after lunch. So yeah, we still have few drops on the windshield, but it should be a completely dry track. There you go.
Thank you, Al.
Okay, now everything is passed and we can go to the track. It's drizzling a little bit, but the track should stay dry, I believe. So back in the day, F1 cars were driving here. Alright, so I have driven 45 minutes in the track. To remind, all the corners is really easy, because it's just like you're going in the circle with few chicanes to the left. Most corners are going to the right, so that's an easy track to memorize. However, it's very difficult to drive in these chicanes, because if you do a small mistake in them, you lose like 1-2 seconds immediately. So in such track where the lap time with a similar car is about 2 minutes, to lose 1 or 2 seconds is like in Nordschleife losing like 10 seconds, which is a lot. So after 45 minutes, let's check what we have with the car. So the front tires, I feel already that it suffered a little bit and they were a bit hot. The front brakes are still there, almost like we were. So the main use, what I can feel here, is tires, and the brakes are not so bad. But the tires are really warming up really quickly and starting to melt after like 20 minutes of driving. So now it's Sierra's time. He's doing his meditation before driving, and now it's his turn to drive the E36. Afraid?
Yes, very afraid.
Why?
Not to crash the car, because it's not mine.
So finish your Sierra quicker. What happened? Need fuel?
Yeah.
While Sierras was driving the E36, we finished the fuel, so it's first time refueling here in Zolder track, and it's really comfortable here to refuel because you have a gas station directly in the track, because there's the main start-finish straight, here's the first chicane, so it's really comfortable because you have one gas station in the racetrack, so it's a big benefit, especially when you have non-registered car, so you cannot enter the city or something else. While we have went to the pits, it actually was a good time because now it's a red flag in the track. There is some accident far away, so it's good time to be in the pits and not in the track. So the first fueling is 60 euros, so we add 60 euros to the cost. This poor Ginetta probably broke down, so it caused the red flag. This accident will be cleared really soon, and then Linus can start driving the track. Okay, so Linus is back after his session, and now let's check if there are still brakes left for me. Okay, so there is maybe 10% of the front brake pads left. In this side is a little bit more. Tires are also not so much left, but will be still good to go. And the day is getting a little bit colder, so it's just a perfect conditions to drive. But I will have no passenger, so maybe I can do a bit better lap time than I did. So best lap time so far was 2 minutes 3 seconds. So let's see what it happens without a passenger and with a bit colder weather. However, with more worn out tires and a bit less of the brakes. Let's fight this M3, let's catch it. Okay, I think the front brakes are finished, so we go to the pits. We still have about 50 minutes of track time, so we will try to change the front brakes very quickly and then continue driving. So yeah, hopefully that this car is still fine, because I felt in the last lap that there is some sound from the brakes, but it still brakes good, so it's probably just one end of the pad is finished. Okay, so the passenger side brake pad, the inner pad is still like half left, but the outer is nearly finished. It's like 3 millimeters left, or maybe 2 on the lower side. But I believe in the driver's side the pad should be finished in one of the sides. Good that we have already prepared the other pads, so they are just driven in, so they're new pads but driven in, and the first heat cycle is already done. So once we put them in the car, I can already go to the track and without bedding them in, already push to the limit. Well, to the limit. So in the back it's like 60% left, so the rear is not really wearing out here. But now the pads will be gone in a moment, and yeah, it's still even here, but this is like 1.5 maybe millimeter on this side, so it's still not finished, but yeah, it's not really usable anymore. Easy. What this guy is doing here? Just go, it's a racetrack. Just drive, gas, gas, gas. I need to try to drive in corners slowly in and fast out, because sometimes I do fast in and slow out, and if the car moves a little bit, you feel it on the time so much, but like every small second it so counts so much. Okay, that Porsche is there. A little bit because I thought I would go to these stones. The track is grippy, it's good. And even the car still shows half of the fuel tank, and there is about 20-25 liters in the fuel tank. There is already on the corners I'm losing some power, so it's dangerous, very dangerous for the engine to drive without enough fuel in the system. So the last quick refill, it probably will be the next 60 euros, we'll see, and in a moment, and then I will have the last 15 minutes in the track. One more expense, 64 euros. Let's go to the track. Good, so we have full fuel tank, new brake pads in the front, worn out tires, and the last 15 minutes of the track. So let's make the lap time a bit better in this small session, but still let's end this day with a smile, not with a crashed car. That's important today, because even it looks like quite safe track, the walls are very close, so if you lose the traction and you lose the control of the car, it might be quite tricky. Let's go. And that's all, the track day is finished. Good, red flag. We have, before a few minutes, 6 p.m. Track day is finished without any incidents, and the car was performing just perfect, just perfect. Okay, so now the track day is finally finished. The car is still in one piece, everyone is happy, and everything went really well. And to be honest, this E36 is holding the second track day without zero issues. Just this track day we have changed the brake pads, but that's all what we have done. So let's start counting what we have used on the cars. So the front brake pads we have changed before, and so now we have new ones, and I just did the last session on them. It means that we, let's say, used in the last session just 10% of them, and the old brake pads were about 30% left once we came here. So we used of about 40% of front brake pads, and the set for the front costs about 300 euros. So the front brake pads alone cost us 120 euros just for front brake pads, 120 euros. Let's check the rear ones. And the rear ones are holding much better, but also we are a little bit more worn out than before when we came for. So let's say the rear is 20% used, so 20%, and the rear brake pad set is also approximately 300 euros. So the rear brake pads alone cost us today more 60 euros. And the tires were nearly gone, so we were about 30% left once we came. And from feeling on driving, I can already say that they are finished. There are still some thread left, but they are finished, and they are not good for the next track day. It means the tires, we have used 30% of tires, and the set of tires cost 500 euros for this car, and that is 150 euros of cost more today. And the last thing, what I said before, that we will count that 1 kilometer of driving this car for like owning this car, building, rebuilding, and maintaining this car, we will count just 1 euro for each kilometer in the track. Okay, it's really hard to see here, but it shows 304,170 kilometers on the dash. So this instrument cluster has driven a lot of kilometers. So yeah, so today we have driven 302 kilometers in the racetrack. It means we need to add 302 euros to the cost. Okay, now the E36 and the Ranger are with full fuel tanks, and I have just paid 92 euros to refill both cars, and they are back in the state like we left the Kelberg. So now let's go just 1 kilometer to the workshop, and let's calculate all the costs of today driving the Zolder racetrack. First cost which we had was a travel cost. The second cost which we had was the entry fee for the track day. Then the third cost was the fuel for the E36 in the racetrack. And the fourth cost is of course the maintenance and use of this car in the track. And all in all, we have the total cost of 1,388 euros. So this is 1,388 euros for driving 4 hours E36 325 in the F1 track Zolder in Belgium. And it comes to about 350 euros an hour of driving this car. And if this car would be a little bit faster, because now the E36 325 is just an entry-level car to drive the track, I believe if this car would be faster, this cost would simply double easily. So yeah, and by the way, in this cost, I do not count any labor or any time I spend personally to work or prepare the car. So it's purely just for the parts and things you need to invest in the car, and also to spend to drive the track day. For the end, I leave you guys with my fastest lap of today. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribed already, and see you next time. Thank you very much.